Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is your Virgo reading for May 2020. And don't worry, Apollo is here. He's just chilling out in the background, and I didn't want to bother him because he looked like he was really enjoying. I'll bring him up at the end if I remember. But I'm so happy to be here for everybody today. I was up bright and early, probably around 5 a.m. Lots of information coming through for your sign, which is why I wanted to get started early. And first of all, I'd like to introduce myself if you're brand new. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and I saw that many of you are returning, but this might be the first time you've made it live. So one of the blessings with the sort of schedule disruptions we've all been experiencing right now is that a lot of you have been able to join in this month, and I'm so grateful for your presence. Just like any sort of group activity with metaphysics, the more that are here, the more energy that we can all kind of tap into, the more impactful it can be. So, so good to see you guys. This morning, I want to, and I know for many of you it's this evening, but I want to talk about, there's like three main messages that came through, but before I get into that, let me just kind of go through what to expect today. I mentioned this for those that came in early, but everything can be used for your sun, your rising, your moon. Although if you don't know all of that, you can just watch for your star sign, and that's going to be more than enough. You can also watch on behalf of somebody that you care about in your life. So these are very flexible, and that's why you can join all of them really if you'd like to, especially the meditation portion, which is usually the last 15 minutes, because there's healing to be had there for everyone. I also think the channeled message at the beginning contains information that we can all benefit from. It's tailored for your sign, but there's still some great information there. The way that this is organized is, as I said, it begins with channeled information. When I get up in the morning, I meditate. And when I'm meditating on days that I read, I receive information for your sign. So that clairvoyant information can be what I'm seeing, hearing, feeling, or hearing, or sensing in another way. And I'm going to share that with you in a moment. After we go through that, I will use the deck of cards that I was shuffling here at the beginning, and we'll take a look at the messages, both the high points and some of the challenges you might experience. Then we'll go to the expanded forecast, health, wealth, love, and destiny. And after all of this, we'll do a review and then go into your soul path. The soul path is going to show you what to expect, not just for this month, but the year ahead. And right now, I'm helping all signs with one particular thing, which is focusing on perception. What is the silver lining of everything that we're going through? I think it's a question we all ask ourselves, like, why is this happening? What can I do to cope with it? Can I look forward to something? So we'll be looking at that bigger sort of open-ended question at the latter part of this meeting. Because this is live, if you'd like to say hi, I've noticed some people have already done this. A great way to show your support is by using this little super chat icon, and you can send me a sticker or you can emphasize something positive. I don't answer Q&A and I don't do pick a card, but when you do that, it's a nice way of sending me feedback that you like what you see. This month, I'm actually using two decks of cards that I use by using the funds that you guys have provided. One that's beautiful from Kyle Gray, and another one, I forget the maker of this one, but I'll update my tarot deck link on my website at the end of this month with all the new stuff. I'm trying to get the Oracle ones done too. There's just double as many as I have for tarot, so it's going to take me a while, but eventually that'll be fleshed out as well. I'd like to take a moment here to thank Ryan and Maria, who helped moderate while I'm talking. I ask that everybody just support one another, and they may not need to do anything, but if they're here, if you need a question answered, or if somebody isn't acting in their highest light, they'll kind of bring it into a nice organized state. I'd like to also remind you at the very end that I'll give you some information on how you can connect with me on social media or book a session if you'd like. Before I get started, I just want to remind you, if you like what you see here, please do hit that subscribe button. I'll post a link later after I do the review. The subscriber count does matter to me. It shows me that you like what I'm doing. And if I see certain videos get more subscribers, I'll do more like that. Same thing with the like button. Neither of those things cost anything, but it's a great way to give back. Okay, let's get started because like I said, there's a lot coming through. And thank you again for those of you that are helping me with Super Chat right now. The first message that I picked up on when I was meditating this morning was a waterfall. And for me, it was just, I felt this great release of energy as I kind of went into that image of the water flowing and pushing everything away. It was kind of like, almost like a spring, when all of the mountains are melting, the snow is melting and it's kind of flushing out the riverbanks and all of that. So I felt this sort of clearing, cleansing, cleaning energy. And I think that for those of you, whether you're intuitive or not, what this is doing is just the same way when you go outside now and you can breathe, especially in big cities like LA and New York, and I'm sure in Hong Kong and other areas that are going through this shutdown. It's beautiful. You can see all the way to the horizon. So what we're going through right now is a clearing. It's opening up our intuitive, our cognitive channels, also just like our lungs. Everything's a little bit healthier. And the water that I saw, for me, water is always a symbol of release. It can also be clarification or, again, sort of a heightening of awareness here. So I think the first thing we want to focus on this month, and again, it trickles into April as well as May, but particularly May, is just like letting go. And in intuitive development, I think I talked about this in my intuitive development series, but if I didn't, I'll add it in a later video. Release is really key to allowing your gifts to grow. So I know that when I first started to experience intuitive energy in my body, something that I would worry about was like, I need to try to control it, force open my third eye, or I don't want to feel this, or I need to do this. What I realized later is it's actually more important to be present, observe, and let the stuff sort of work through me. And I can get more information when I'm not trying to control everything. And that also holds true for your emotions. So whether you're receiving intuitive guidance or you feel the need to just cry or laugh or let out this energy some way, if you could see yourself more as the conduit, the channel, or the medium, rather than the one that has to kind of like do all of this stuff, you're going to be more powerful because things can move through you and you're not going to hold on to them as much. And that's really important for those of you that are psychically developing, to not try to hold the energy or harness it or control it too much. In Reiki, you learn how to channel. And in yoga, you learn also how to kind of push things through your energy system. So working on becoming neutral this month is key. You need a release. I mentioned a couple ways that you can work with it. Definitely breathing, yoga, exercise, art. I've been talking about that in all signs this month. For you, it's really, really important because I feel like you need to like let some of this stuff go. And just like the air outside in Los Angeles right now, you're going to feel so much clearer and more vibrant and more able to see things. And when we talk about the third message, that's going to be very important. Let's get on to the second one. So the next thing that I saw was somebody that was kind of like picking up all these pieces and creating something new. It looked to me like a castle that had kind of fallen apart. And instead of trying to rebuild the castle, they were using that energy or that the resources there to create something brand new. So the second thing, so first we see sort of clearing and releasing, then we see rebuilding, but you're going to have to be resourceful and you might have to reassemble. You can't take something that was like thousands of years old, take the sort of rubble and make the same thing. Instead, you're going to take that resource plus some others and create something new. This is another consistent message that's been coming through for multiple signs. I was talking to Leo about it, and I think I've talked to Cancer before that. We've been talking a lot about it this month, which is reimagining, rebuilding, and also just being very, very imaginative, not sort of cutting any possibility off. I was talking to somebody yesterday, or actually this morning, about how many jobs I've had in my life. I was trying to kind of go through my mind and remember how many. And I'm not that old, but I've had about 15 jobs over the years. I've had 2 that spanned almost a decade apiece, but I had a bunch of other ones at the beginning of my career that were, much more rapid. I was kind of shedding jobs and trying new things. And I think it's really important for us to not define ourselves by one choice, one job, one career, an ID badge. I was talking to another sign about that this month. We are not, no more than I am my hair, my shirt, or anything else. I'm not defined by these sort of outward things. You have the ability to change and shift and grow into that. So as you start to rebuild, don't limit yourself to kind of going back to the same thing. I had a great bit of information. It was from a nutritionist, not even an intuitive, but she was observant of like how the work was affecting me physically. And this was during one of my longer jobs. I'd been there, maybe 4 or 5 years. And she said, "Why are you doing this path? Why are you working on this?" She said, "You're going to go back now to another job and another studio and kind of repeat the same thing." I didn't listen to her at the time, but she was right. I was repeating history and I was hoping that somehow I could control it. There'd be a different outcome. If I could have just surrendered to the fact that this wasn't the best path and that I was really being moved into another energy, another direction, I would have been much further along the journey by now. But I was holding on. And so I think that one thing that you could do is observe and feel like how much resistance you're getting to maybe going back to your old job or the same industry, or how do you feel after a break? If you've been working off site and you go back into the office, what does it feel like now once you've finally done that? Or if you're in one of the industries that's been tapped out and you're starting to see either the positive or negative aspects of how everyone operates under stress, does that temper how much you want to stay there in the long run after all of this sort of settles? So you get choices because you're a resource too. You have all of this experience. You may need to sort of pull together disparate parts of who you are and think, you know what? I actually have this capability too. You're never as stuck as you think you are. It's just a lot of it's cognitive. What else can I do? How else can I see myself? If I can't see myself in another way, how can somebody else? So take some of this time right now and figure out what it is that you really want to be doing. That's one of the big gifts right now. Now, prior to my meditation, I had a dream with mice. Mice are kind of curious dream symbols. They can show financial gain and financial loss. But the other thing that they show to me, much like a rabbit, is that they have this ability to procreate. There's like fertility, but they're very kind of hidden. And one of the things that we were trying to catch the mice. So that is auspicious. If mice appear in other ways, not so good. But what I'm seeing is that there's hidden blessings. And even though that we kind of think things are scarce, if you live in a city like I do and you walk outside at night, there are certain parts of the city where I don't know where these mice come from, but you suddenly see like 100 mice kind of crawling all over the place. They're little tiny mice too. So what I see with this is that there are ways to access resources that you may not know. There are hidden blessings in the future here, but you could overlook them. You may not see them. A lot of what's going on, and that's why we're going to focus on perception when we look at the soul path at the end, is what am I allowing myself to see? My glasses are in the other room, but when I put on the glasses, I can see clearly, or I see things that I didn't. Or as I'm looking around the house, I think, okay, I really need to clean there. I didn't see that when I wasn't using my glasses. So what we're going to do today as we look at the cards here is hopefully we'll be looking with one lens with the Celtic cross and then 4 additional lenses as we go into the expanded forecast. I'm going to try to help you find the blessings, not just the blocks, because there are some blessings to be found even in this, the challenging time that we're in. All right, let's go ahead now and take a look at the cards. I like to remain quiet at this point because I want to observe the placement. I received some additional information while I do that, and afterwards I'll rejoin you. So thank you for being patient. Also, welcome to everybody from all the different parts of the world. It's always wonderful to see who joins in a particular reading. So good to see you guys. All right, thank you so much for being patient, everyone. Let's go ahead and take a look at your catalyst card first. The catalyst is a way for us to connect to our highest energy, to avoid any potential pitfalls and really to stay in our highest light. So the message here is to make plans and focus. We have the Shield Maiden. A couple of other messages come through with this as well, which is, of course, to be vigilant and protect yourself. I think that is a given right now. But one thing that I do also energetically is work on the power of energy to boost my immune system, to keep me aware of things that I need to know. And I'll give you a very interesting example of how this can work in an unexpected sort of way. But this is a great protection ritual. If you don't do this, you should bless the windows and the doors of your house, because they are vulnerable openings. And so sometimes I will go and sort of pray over that space. Sometimes you can inscribe a meaningful protection talisman, whether it's a cross, a Star of David, Hamsa, anything that kind of works for you in your religion or your sort of beliefs. And then really just imagine that you're sealing it off with light. And so I do this regularly. You could do it every day, you could do it every week, you could do it once a month, it doesn't matter. I've noticed a few times when I do this, I will receive a dream or an intuition if I know somebody's going to be outside my door. I once had one where I could see a neighbor kind of waiting outside there. And lo and behold, I found out that they were listening in one time to a conversation or something, and I knew it. And so because I blessed it and put my energy around those spaces, I'm able to perceive sometimes if someone else's energy comes into the space of my house. So know that for those of you that are psychically awakening, you can push those kinds of protection wards out there. You can also push out your light and energy to give you a fair warning of what you want to avoid. So I had a download the other day that I didn't need to go to a particular store. It just wasn't going to work out. And it ended up being valid information. Sometimes it's because there's a closure, sometimes because there's an accident, sometimes just not what I need to be doing. Maybe there's someone that I don't want to see there. So when you start to spend some time meditating, you can open up to warnings that can help save you from things that you don't want to be working on. So clear your house and then also bless your house. You should be blessing the openings, and you can also bless the floor. These are great. Any place that touches another like that wall that touches the neighbors, you could do that as well. So just a little bit of a ritual that can help you out. You can do this to clothing and belongings as well. You can bless your phone. Think about it. The other thing when I see the shielding here is to look at just general security, password protection, make sure that you've changed them, and also make sure that if you're sharing information with people that you trust them. That's all. And then the other piece of this is much more practical. Make plans and focus. I think it's really important right now for you to have something to put your energy into. That release card that I had written earlier definitely applies to this. When you have somewhere to put the energy, you feel like you have a purpose, and I think that's key. 8 of Pentacles is at the center. The card is in reverse, but this is usually a very positive card as well. It's about personal development. So sometimes when I see Pentacles in reverse, it's not so much about loss as it is about putting the energy within. And this could also be, you don't necessarily have to go to college or university to receive this kind of upgrade. This could be reading a book and expanding your consciousness. It could be working with a mentor or teacher, even if it's remotely, and learning how to do something. And it's just really about curiosity and putting some energy into doing something you want to do. For those of you that are writers or work with your hands, it can also show a craft or a project that you're working on and a decision to just see it through. It's busy work. The cool thing with 8 of Pentacles is you get a return, an absolute return on how much energy you put into it. So it's always worth learning. It's always worth working on a passion project like that. And it's kind of interesting. It's almost like little hearts here that are on the tree. So I feel like when you work the passion like that, you are going to feel good. You're going to feel inspired, and you're going to feel that you got some sort of a reciprocal kind of energy. Now, crossing this card, tempering this card, is the 5 of Pentacles. And the 5 of Pentacles is also a resource card, but it can be construed as a family sort of energy here too. So the interesting thing with 5 of Pentacles, it's usually with parents and children, but it can also be a sibling card. It has to do with this feeling of being isolated or feeling like you're not being appreciated or understood. And the interesting thing here, we have shelter. This is literally one where the shelter's right behind. There's always a church, and usually people are in front of that church and they feel like they don't have anywhere to go. So there are people right now that need help a lot. Like the homeless come to mind. Here in Los Angeles, we're trying to deal with that because the spread of the virus is actually exacerbated by the homeless who have nowhere to go, and they're not probably practicing the same sanitary, sort of routines that the rest of us are. So this is a time to, if you have extra, to somehow give back to, the homeless, if there's a way to get involved. Also to people in your life that have less than you. I was talking to a friend the other day who's trying to kind of struggle with how to deal with layoffs at work. Some people got laid off, some didn't. And if you're on either side, it can be difficult. If you're in a place where you can help people, ways to connect and to help them, this is the time to do it. Because we do see people at two different ends of the coin here. 8 of Pentacles having more than enough and 5 of Pentacles not quite having enough. And so we could find ourselves on either side of this coin. It's always good to be there when you can, and to realize that through your own sort of resourcefulness, as I said earlier, you can find a way out as well. On the other side here, one thing I want to look at with 5 of Pentacles is making sure you're not sitting too much, because it has to do with the legs a lot. You'll see someone with crutches on a typical Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So this can mean that you might have an increased risk for like blood clotting or lower back issues, or even just feeling a little unsteady, losing your balance because you're just not moving as much as you used to. For those of you like nurses and doctors, or supermarket folks, or people that are doing deliveries, and any of the number of fields that are kind of busy right now, please don't tell me I forgot one. I know I did. I'm just giving some examples. For anybody that's taxed out, you're either standing too much or sitting too much. So do what you can to stretch, to exercise, and to give a little bit of love to basically everything below the waist. Your knees and legs and ankles especially, because those joints are being stressed out probably more than they should. So take care of yourselves there. These are also cards showing the importance of diet balance, making sure that you're not either under or overnourished. So really making sure that you're eating well. A lot of information packed within those two, but it's all important. Let me take a quick drink here and we will continue. All right, deep past. We have the love card here, 2 of Cups. So here's a great thing that can come out of where we're at right now. First of all, I've been referencing this a lot. It's important. It's an event that I lived through, so I'll mention it as appropriate this month. But during 9/11, we saw the best and the worst in sort of humanity, and I think right now we're seeing the same thing. I like to look at the best side here, the 2 of Cups. This happens in earthquakes here in Los Angeles, tornadoes in the Midwest, wildfires as we've seen in Australia. Anytime we have a terror incident, we see that as well. People show up and they kind of, I saw someone here from France. So we saw that also when Notre Dame was having all of the fire and kind of damage as well. People kind of rally up and support. So sometimes the worst things bring out the best in people. And I think right now we need to focus on love and connectedness and ways that we all have like a lot more in common than worrying about divisiveness or who's right, who's wrong, who made the mistakes. Let's just show up and help each other right now. And for those of you that are looking for love, I feel like the love begins within. We saw the 8 of Pentacles there. So you have to focus on, am I happy with my life, with what I do for a living, with who I've become? If there's something I want to change, let me do that. And in doing so, I'm going to fix relationships around me because I'm bringing my best energy forward. There is room for love, though. It feels like some of you might have already stepped into that. The challenge now is going to be how to deal possibly with being pent up with that person, or dealing with distance if you can't see each other as much as you used to. In recent past, we have the universe card here, the world. Ends and beginnings. So that same relationship may be put to a test. Also, some of you may be wondering, like, what did I do wrong? This is something that came through yesterday. If you really exist within this sort of higher light and then all of a sudden your world is turned upside down, how do you stay positive? We'll look at the cards here in a moment, but I think the important thing is to try not to take it all in at once. As I said, sometimes just let the emotions go through you, as the waterfall image came to me. So there's going to be days where it feels great. There's other days where you feel really angry or really sad. That's totally normal. And it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster. This is where meditation helps. This is where things like this will help as well. All right, this is the most important card probably that we've looked at so far, and I think it might be the most important one, but I'll look at all of them. I think it is, yes. So we have Seven of Cups here. The card in the upright position can show an ability to brainstorm. And this is the resourceful thing that I was talking about. The most important thing for you right now is to imagine, kind of like that John Lennon song, like imagine the best possible things in the world and start to question the possibilities. Could I do this? What if I did this? And that brainstorming is something I would give yourself at least a month to do, like spend some time thinking of new things. Then you go from that sort of wide view to a more sort of focused view. And that's what the Seven of Cups in reverse is. But if we rush to the Seven of Cups in reverse, we miss out on the dreaming phase. And I think all of us are being given encouragement, permission, and also just space to dream again. And so before you kind of bury your face in a book or look at television or take a nap, give yourself a little bit of time to just think about where you're at and what you want to be doing. And what did you, as a little girl, little boy, imagine yourself doing? How does this compare to it? Imagine that you met yourself. Maybe we'll do this in the meditation. I actually love that idea. What if you met yourself as a younger kid? What advice would the younger kid give to you? Because they're looking at you and you're stressed and there's all this stuff. Meanwhile, it's like, but look, you have a house, you have this, you have a job, you don't have your parents telling you to go to bed at a certain time. What would the little kid kind of remind you of your blessings? And what would you tell the little kid? Like, by the way, don't take this job, forget this friend, study this instead. Look at the two and maybe find a nice way to integrate that childlike energy and appreciate some of the strength you have as an adult, because I think sometimes we lose both of them. And this is a chance to bring the inner child to the forefront, to nurture it, and also to realize, hey, I actually came a long way, further than I give myself credit for. Take your dreams as a kid, take the reality as an adult, smash them together and try to meet in the middle and see if you can't get closer to what it is you really want to do. That's what this card is saying. That's the big advice for your sign this month, Virgo. So we'll talk more about that in the meditation and when I look at the soul path work. Where are you headed? Near future, we have the 10 of Wands. 10 of Wands is a wonderful card. It's showing that many of you have worked really hard and you're getting close to a point where you can start to reap the benefits. What do we have right now? We have a little bit of a block, right? And it's interesting in this deck, which is a blend between Rider-Waite-Smith and also the Thoth deck, that we see the word oppression here. See, I actually see 10 of Wands as completion. So I think it's in how you look at it. Sometimes it feels like it's too much. I'm carrying too heavy of a load. How do I deal with this? And I think that's what this month is giving you a chance to do. For many of you, your schedule has kind of been blown up. It doesn't matter if I think everybody's schedule is different. You're either working too much or not enough or remotely and it feels weird. So you can start to release some of the energy that you might have felt before where it was too heavy. And in the in-between times, particularly for those of you that are working remotely or not working or waiting to go back to work, this is a period of relief and release and a chance for you to think, am I kind of done with what I'm working on? Because it feels like I might be. And what can I do next? Like my nutritionist that was saying, Nicholas, why are you continuing to work on this career path when it's making you unhealthy? It wasn't my diet, it was just the environment. You don't have to be intuitive sometimes to realize that, but you have to be removed. So you have been given context, a chance to, in another environment, evaluate your life, your work, your money, and your satisfaction. They're not all the same. They're not mutually exclusive, but they're not always mutually inclusive. So money doesn't always mean you're happy. And when you're happy, sometimes you need more abundance. So we're going to try to find a way to blend it. You're going to have to maybe make some changes. This is a world catalyst event right now where everybody has to evolve. You can't go back after this and be the same. You won't. I talked yesterday about that distance, 2 or 3 months between different grades in school. We're all coming back with a different sort of energy. It's not just our bodies, our mind and our spirit has changed. So let go of the load, let go of that sort of feeling like I have to keep carrying this, have to keep doing this. You don't, you can't, you won't, it's gonna change. So the healing has to happen right now. It's almost impossible to look at people that are looking for new relationships right now. It can happen, but I feel like the main focus right now needs to be on personal healing and development. Your sign definitely has that. I love this Three of Swords because it's showing that a lot of times the sadness can be cognitive. It's, again, the limits and the sort of definitions that you're putting on what's going on. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Why doesn't this person like me? When in fact, there's a lot of personal energy and power that's going into the construction of the reality around you. The truth should be sort of like, what is it about the situation that triggers me? Why did I attract that person into my life? What can I do to shift the energy so more abundance comes in and a higher frequency of person is attracted to me? And part of this is, do I love myself? What do I feel I offer to the world? You have to start to reprogram with the idea that I'm more than enough for myself or for others. Anybody would be fortunate enough to have me in their life. And if there's something I feel like I'm kind of falling short of, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it for personal satisfaction and development. Eight of Pentacles. So you have to be driven this month, not so much by ego, but by the soul and by the heart. Because at the end, I believe that irrespective of what religion you follow, there is a life review. I think that it isn't God that kind of looks at you and judges you. I think you judge yourself. You're an expression of God. You look at your life and you look at it through the hearts and the spirits of everyone that you touched. And it's the aggregate energy that you get back that makes you decide how good or bad your life was. You decide, you judge. So do it now. And spend this time meditating and thinking too, like, what can I do to powerfully shift my energy in another space? If you're a little bit triggered, if it's emotional, if it's sad, if it's happy, if it's angry, good. You're feeling something. You're moving. You're changing. Now decide what to do about it. And that's the important thing. It's good to be triggered. It means you're alive. And it means your body and your energy is trying to help you. Just like when we feel pain, we'll move back. It's a protection. It's showing us. It's kind of like a feedback. So read the feedback. Don't just sort of like let it fester up. How are you going to do something with it? Talk. I think this is the second most important thing that you can do. And I've been telling every sign this month, texting doesn't cut it. You have to hear the frequency. Imagine if I turned off the video and you were just listening to me. It's not as effective. You want to see me. You want to see the cards. Don't cut people out. So for this type of energy, you need to be one-on-one. So texting someone you're not going to hear if they're okay. If you're worried about a parent, a loved one, etc., pick up the phone, talk to them. Better yet, video chat with them, Zoom with them, do something like that. If you're creative, do something with that creativity. This can be writing, this can be building, this can also be executing a plan or a dream. This is your chance. If you've been busy working like 9-to-5 jobs for the past 10 years, this is a chance for you to reevaluate. And sometimes people will say, well, I don't have any other skills. What else can I do? Go back into the daydreaming phase, and I'm going to try to help you reconnect with that when we go and talk to your inner child. I bet you do, and I think that you've just been, it's almost like practicality has brainwashed some of us, and we forgot that anything is possible to some degree. Especially when you look at athletes they don't have limbs and they're still racing. That person, I'm sure many people told them, you can't do this. Yes, you can. It's just a different journey. So whatever sort of perceived block or quote unquote, I'm just going to leave it at that, a block that you have, it's there in part because you haven't thought of a new way around it. Our scientists and inventors every day are thinking of new things. If we thought that it's impossible to get to the moon, we would have never done that. So we have to keep imagining the possibilities and then start to do something about it. There's a lot of personal onus on you to do something. So looking now at your hopes, your fears, and your possibilities. So we have 9 of Wands. Persevere, don't give up. And understand that for many of you, you're just maybe waiting for help or a sign or a signal. I say part of this is also not necessarily waiting for that, just continuing to push, because many of you are between the 9 and 10 of Wands, which is giving yourself permission to move on, waiting for the sign. You may have to just make the internal decision when it's time to do something. Leave a job, get married, start a business, say no to something, and whatever. It's finding your inner power. So trust yourself, love yourself, work on that integration and that healing. And then I feel like you're going to be the one that decides to cut the strings. And that's what we see here with 8 of Swords in reverse. We literally see someone here that is in place with kind of being controlled with strings. And this is reverse, which is saying it's time to cut those strings and release them. The 8 of Swords is also a card that I would normally kind of see someone not seeing the possibilities, right? You feel like you're trapped. It sometimes comes up when someone is in jail, either kind of figuratively or literally. So what is your limiting factor right now? Is it a boss? Is it your parents? Is it your economic situation? Is it where you live? Is it how you feel? Now that you know that, you can find the key. You'll work on finding what is the key to get me out of that limiting factor. And that's the focal point for this month, is kind of developing that. And that's where you go inward this month, is I'm going to work on finding and crafting my own key so I can open the door and get out of the situation. You have time. You've been gifted with time. All right, let's expand the forecast now. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny to get some additional insights in what we see. Starting with health. Health includes your mind, body, and spirit. And the more that I read, the more that it's more about your spirit or your emotional state. So this card was reversed, but I want to pull it up right so you can see the illustration. It says hope, and then love and acceptance. And I just need to pull it closer to read it. It says, love is yours. Recognize your divine worth. Choose loving thoughts. I agree with what it said because we actually got love here in the deep past. And you do have to love yourself and love others and try to get back to a place where you can understand the motivation based on love. How, even at some of the frustrating things, if you can think, if somebody's doing something out of sort, is it because they're trying to get attention, which is a form of love? Is it because they lacked validation in their own life, so they're just trying to somehow be noticed? For yourself, can you recognize the same patterns? And what if you just imagined, I can do this. I love myself. I'm okay with who I am. I think that's the key for many of you, is to find love and hope. Also with hope, it's so hard right now, right? You turn on the news and it feels like there's not many stories right now that bring you that sense of hope. But this is where it's going to be really important for you to get back to your inner child. As a kid, I didn't listen to the news as much. I wasn't as practical, and I just dreamed of what was possible. When you think, okay, so I'm a writer. I like reading a lot of different types of books. Futurist books I find fascinating because, and fantasy and science fiction, because they take elements of what we experience, but then they imagine way beyond that. So I believe that that often informs where we go as society too, because we look to that for inspiration, because the here and the now, not always so inspiring. But when you look at something like Star Wars, Star Trek, Blade Runner, whatever, there's really wonderful and sometimes scary things that are in all of those movies. And we can decide, like, what can we avoid, 1984, and what can we try to go towards? And so I want each of you to find your inner sort of creator, artist, writer, and imagine what your future could be like. Write your own future. You are your own author. So you have to, if you don't have hope for yourself and for this world, then it's very hard for us all to do better. So try to find it, try to cultivate it. And remember, everything starts with a dream. That's, again, how we got to the moon. Okay. Also looking at health, we talked about moving. I think that's really key. And for some of you, there's a move on the horizon. I missed this, but this is kind of a nice segue into what we'll be looking at here with wealth in a second. So we have the World card and then also the 10 of Wands. Both of these to me are absolutely tied with moving or moving on. It's just a question of when and how for some of you. So a new job, a new place to live, or deciding to expand and do something that touches the world in a different way. For those of you that are writers, it's actually auspicious to see the universe or the World card there. That's a form of publication. So outreach is important. If you're not feeling that energy, it could just be like what I was saying. How do I give back to people that need something? So that affects your health, because how you feel and how you connect to others is important. It affects your wealth, because some of you might need to be looking at, where else can I be living in order to maybe get a different job or to continue to do the job that I need to do. All right. So In the wealth card, we have more of a health message, which is to heal what hurts, heal the ouch, it says. And for some of you, you might be drawn to actually go into healthcare or into spiritual work or into counseling. Gosh, we need it right now. So if that's something you want to do it. For others, you need help, you need support. And before you can go back and do what you used to do, you might need some assistance, some financial counseling, also just some traditional counseling through a psychiatrist or psychologist. And I think there's going to need to be a lot of energy put into health and work and how the two overlap. Because I feel like a lot of what happened in the 20th century was, particularly the latter part, is that it was just sort of like work, 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 like you were on this treadmill or like a hamster wheel, but you weren't going anywhere. So we are being asked to heal our financial system, our all of the different offices right now, and also on an internal space. So there's great healing opportunities that are happening, and you're part of that movement. I mentioned yesterday to Leo that part of the interesting thing right now is we all chose to come to this life at this time. When we were souls out there waiting for reincarnation, part of our contract was, yeah, I'm going to be alive during certain life events. And one of them was the coronavirus. So what can you do as an individual to make a difference? If you're a doctor, it's clear. If you're a scientist, also pretty clear. If you're someone like me, you have to show up more often, which is what I'm trying to do. If you're, like I said, an artist, it might be to create art that inspires change or movement, whether it's music or painting or writing. So everybody on the planet can give something, even if it's just listening to a friend or a family member. So this was part of your contract. Find a way to make a difference. Even a small one matters. As I said before, I do feel like there is a move coming through for many of you. And so if you're looking for a new job, don't be afraid to look out of your current country, state, or province. There might be something that's a little bit more compatible with you, but you'll have to imagine that move perhaps. All right, looking at love here. It says, Angel of Jupiter awakened. So when I think of Jupiter, one of the interesting things with this is that it is one of the most powerful sort of, first of all, in gods, it's one of the most powerful gods. But when you think of what it does in the solar system, it is kind of what keeps us all together. It attracted all of these sort of like satellites. It's kind of like the vacuum cleaner of the solar system. And it keeps us from harm's way, basically. And also it kind of has all this sort of potential of a star, but it maybe didn't have that spark and that extra bit. It needs a little bit more mass to be a star, or like a red giant or something. Not a red giant, but like a dwarf. But yes, it was almost a star, and it's kind of like a vacuum cleaner. So how does this work in relationships and love? Well, first of all, clean things up is the first message that I'm getting. Take a look at what isn't working in your relationship. Spend some time right now and face it. It's like the moon card. It's not always easy to see, but it's really good to move through. And after you've done it, you're always better for the cleaning. It's like cleaning the house too, right? It's not fun, but it's nice to see everything spick and span afterwards. So my piece of advice on this is much like cleaning. You do one surface at a time, one room at a time, one closet at a time. That's something I've been doing during the kind of forced isolation, is I go into every part of my house and just get rid of stuff and clear it and reorganize it, which gives me peace of mind and energy. So in your relationship, one piece at a time. The other piece of this is to own your power and own your part in that. Jupiter is very strong. You can push things out like it does. You can attract things in. You can also consume things. So looking at your role in this, what are you bringing into your energy? What can you kind of get rid of? And believe that you have the power and know that you will make that happen. And in our sort of meditation, if I remember this, one thing that I'd like to focus on is perhaps igniting the inner star, because Jupiter never made it there. It didn't have enough potential energy, but imagine if it could attract a little bit more and light up. So we'll work on that. But for your own sort of self, this is deciding like there's something more that I need. There's one more thing that I want to work on. And so add that, work on yourself. Looking at the cards here again, I'm not necessarily seeing a court card coming in, which makes a lot of sense. I'm not seeing a lot of new love relationships forming. I think when we look at yours, it's the past, focusing on past relationships, and the only one that matters really, which is your relationship with yourself. So look at those two things, worry about, attracting new people in the months to come. I think personal work, personal development, super important right now. Okay, looking now at your destiny card. Destiny is malleable in my spread anyway. I believe that we come to the planet with milestones, things that we want to experience, but then we still have choices on how we react to them. And then there's a lot of free will, and there's a lot of different directions that we can go into. So this is reversed, and I would kind of look at this as like the high priestess in reverse, but it says oracle and wisdom. You're receiving a lot of that wisdom and information and download right now. So I would say, try not to second guess it. When I have intuition, sometimes even with family members that know that I'm intuitive, they don't always believe me, and I don't always know how it's going to work out, but I trust it. And I've learned over time that sometimes it just takes longer for it to factor out, but it always comes through. Or, I just I've learned to trust my voice and not listen to all the talking around me. If you can kind of tune into your inner compass this month, I think it's going to be super effective at guiding you through some of the tough questions that we looked at, which is, should I move? Should I change? When should I do this? And how can I move through some of the pain or the sadness that I'm feeling? Your intuition is going to help you see what matters. And again, when we get into the latter portion, we'll get some other messages in that respect as well. All right, let's take a quick moment here to review everything that we talked about, and then we'll go into the soul path portion, which is going to reveal the silver lining, or the sort of what the next piece is that we can look at. Then we'll do meditation after that. So I won't take too long here, but I just want to pull in some focus here, especially for those of you that might have joined late, and this will help set us up for the soul path. So you need a release. It doesn't matter what that release is, and it doesn't matter if you share it with someone else, but having something to focus on and channel your energy will help. It's also going to clear your mental faculties, your channel. And what I mean with this is, like, we're all capable of being this oracle. That's why that card came through. But a lot of us kind of contain too much. It's kind of like, barnacles that get on a ship. As we live our life, we sometimes we keep all of these little pieces of our past and what other people think. This month, you're being encouraged to let that go, to shake free the barnacles, if you will. Use all of the various pieces of your skill set, of your dreams, of your capabilities, and rebuild. You're more resourceful than you think. There are some hidden blessings that are going to be coming through this month. When you let go, when that release happens that we just talked about, then suddenly you can see a clearing in the forest, and you can start to understand what's possible, even get some perspective on why you landed where you landed. So at the center, actually, let's start with the catalyst again. Protect yourself. We talked about some practical ways to do that in your life, in your apartment, in your house, but also find something to focus on, make some plans, create a schedule. This is going to help also protect you from going down the rabbit hole that we see with the Three of Swords. Personal development came through loud and clear here with the Eight of Pentacles. This is also going to help self-confidence, which was something that I neglected to talk about at the beginning. Five of Pentacles can be a lack of self-worth. Personal development, whether it's deciding to go back to school or just learning more about what makes you tick, then it helps you love yourself, which again is that key relationship. Focus on your most important relationship in your life, whether it's a family member, a sibling, a best friend, or a loved one, or some combination thereof. The big opportunity this month is to strengthen and also maybe cut some of those ties. We see those little threads holding us here. And the caption on this card was interference. So if there's someone that's interfering or blocking you from your greater path, cut those ties. If there's someone you love and you need to fix the relationship, particularly between parents and children, that's something you want to focus on. Moving up, moving on, moving out. There's a big energy around change here with the world and with the Ten of Wands. You're given an opportunity now to daydream and let go of some of this heavy load that you're carrying. So daydream first. Don't limit yourself until you've had a chance to kind of think, what if, ... and then fill in the blank. Then you can get more specific, but general first. The main energy here as we look at the soul is to love yourself. There's still a heart here. You got to take each one of these daggers out and love it and heal it first. Talk to people that you care about. Talk in general. And even though we're limited by being able to see people, there's a lot of hotlines and resources that allow for that connection. Just showing up today, listening to me, talking to one another, and meditating, that's going to be a way of healing as well. 9 of Wands, don't give up. Gosh, if you've come this far and it's just a matter of waiting a few months to finish something, do something, stick with it. For some of you, that might be, you're going to postpone a marriage, but you're still going to get married, or you're going to postpone a launch of a product or whatever it is in your life, but it still is there. The hard work isn't taken away. It's just the timing that's unusual. 8 of Swords in reverse, transparency, inquisitiveness, preparation. There are a lot of ways to get rid of the uncertainty that's a part of this card. The other piece is to just basically own your power and cut out anybody that is interfering with that power. Hope. It is the thing that is basically, I think, what any authoritative or totalitarian government fears, because hope sparks revolution, it sparks change, it sparks, the ability to basically pull down any wall in your life. Use this as your flame, as your fuel, and you can manage anything that's in front of you. Whether it's a physical ailment, whether it's a mental ailment, or if it's something going on with your heart space. Hope is the way to get there. And you have to just imagine possibilities, as I've said. When it comes to wealth, many of you are going to be drawn to make a difference. And maybe that means you're going to be a counselor, a healer, a doctor, a nurse, or somehow make a difference by getting involved in healing. Many of you need healing, and you need to reach out to any of the aforementioned. And I think as a world in general, as a society as a whole, we need to start to heal the way we work, because it's a little bit broken. And that's why all of this happened on sort of a spiritual level. If you want to know what's the purpose here, it's for awakening, it's for shifting, it's for movement, it's for healing. There is an unfortunate side effect, which is sickness and loss of life, but there is a positive aspect, and we have to try to find both, which is we're going to change. We have to change to survive. Love. We talked about owning your power here and deciding, what do I want to pull in? What do I want to orbit out? Sometimes I'll do meditations with people and we imagine orbits around us, whether it's things that we love or people that we know. Maybe we can do some of that in the meditation too, orbiting people in and out. Finally, own your internal wisdom and your ability to perceive, because you're receiving downloads here with the Oracle card. Whether it's simple thought in your head, I need to call this person, I need to do that. Whether it's a vision or you're clairaudiently hearing something, whatever it is, there are different ways to receive it. Just honor it. I see I cut out for a second, so I'm going to repeat that. There are different ways for us to receive information. It can be a vision, it can be a thought, it can also just be some sort of a feeling in your body. So whatever it is, it's valid. Listen to it. It's going to lead you in the right direction. All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look at Soul Path. And this is kind of our silver lining on what you can do about all of this. Where is this taking you right now? We're going to look at past influences, that inner child energy. What maybe have we forgotten about ourselves? The Chariot. So control, basically. It's so interesting. When we're a kid, we seek more than anything the ability to control our lives, right? I was mentioning what time you go to bed, what you can eat, who you can be friends with, how late you can stay up. All of these little things that we take for granted. Just being able to go somewhere without telling someone where it is and checking in. So as an adult, we've earned a lot of this control and we take it for granted. So one thing I think you've maybe forgotten is how much in control of your life you are. And I want you to take those reins and decide, what do I want to do next? And wow, I'm just so appreciative of how much I take care of on a daily basis. For those of you that are the matriarch or patriarch of a family or even a company, if you have a lot of people that are dependent upon you, even if it's symbolic, if you're an aunt or uncle and you don't have any kids, but you're basically kind of like a proxy, mom or grandma to somebody, then right now is a time to try to lead people and try to be that beacon of light and hope. So own your ability to change things, change your life, change your mind, change your direction. You can do this. And then remember a little bit about how much you wanted to do certain things and find the playful nature and give yourself permission to have fun too. Because that kid, if it had your ability to do all of this stuff, imagine what you would be doing as a kid. Some of it would be destructive. Sometimes we see adults acting like kids, but I think finding a happy medium between those two is going to be really important. But the message there is you already have more power and control than you imagine. Control dynamics are important there too. So if there's someone in your life that limits that, like a helicopter mom, a boss that's sort of always in your business, or a friend that won't let you do something without judging you, then it might be time to cut the cords there. All right, looking at present opportunities, Queen of Swords in reverse. Either you or someone around you could be, through thoughts and words, limiting your capacity to complete something or imagine something or do something. There's nothing wrong with being critical, constructively critical, because it prepares us. Fear is not the worst thing in the world. It keeps us from doing things that could cause bodily harm, right? But we don't want to sort of like succumb or fully kind of allow fear to dictate our life. A little bit is good. It's an instinct. It keeps us alive, gives us butterflies and things like that. But if you're too critical and always thinking of the negative, then you're not making room for the positive. It's like sowing a crop. You can't plant everything really close together or it kind of strangles it out. You have to leave space between. So you have to leave room for possibilities. And for those of us, even if we're skeptics, I think if a skeptic won't even entertain a possibility, then it's so closed-minded that they're not giving themselves a full reign of options in front of themselves. That's why I sometimes have a hard time talking to an atheist, because I'm like, you're not even entertaining the possibility that there might be something bigger than you or this world. It's limiting. So give yourself room. And again, I'm being shown like crops in a field. There has to be space between them. There also has to be space between, each line of crops. That gives the roots room to grow. That gives everything space to evolve, to change, to reach out. So you need to give yourself space to surprise yourself. And if you're too reined in, it's not going to happen. It's like watching someone dance and they're just kind of like not moving their body. And it's like, dude, you got to go with the music a little bit. That's not dancing. That's just kind of snapping. And you've got to move your body. You've got to move a little bit. You're being shifted out of your sort of like robotic state. This is a reboot. I've talked about that in other signs. I'm glad you enjoyed the visual. All right, so let's look at where this is taking us. By the way, dance is a great way to release. So play some music at home. Nobody sees you. Maybe not so loud that you're driving your neighbors crazy, but play some music and move a little bit. It's good. Okay, future. All right, Seven of Swords, accountability. And also we've got we have a few cards of swords. Let's talk about them real quick here. Three of Swords, releasing the pain. It's reversed. All the swords are reversed, which is good. Eight of Swords, getting transparent, going through things, asking the questions, looking at things that scare you. And then with the Seven of Swords, the positive way that I can kind of sum this up is to cut your losses. So I'm sure we've all had situations in our life where at a certain point we realize, like, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is a waste of my time. And the blessing that I can give myself is enough is enough. And saying when, saying enough, saying no more, that's a sort of really powerful energy that we can do as an adult that we can't always do as a kid. So if someone in your life has showed up in a way where they lack the accountability, or they say something and they do the opposite, deceit, then you've been given a very masked blessing with that, which is no longer do I need that. That path no longer serves me. If I were to flip around what we see here with the word futility, then it would really be about, I don't need to waste my time anymore. I can reinvest it. So I think this month, if we take that and combine it with this, you have an opportunity to reinvest, to take a field of, like whatever you're growing that isn't working, and just decide, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to till it over and I'm going to fertilize this field. I'm going to grow something new. And that's what we see. This is a chance to rebuild, reimagine, and just cut any sort of losses so you're not wasting time. You're not treading water or like kind of like a car that's sliding in the mud. You have to stop at a certain point and get out there and push it through. So we're at that moment right now where you're going to push it through and get to something else. Okay. So Let's get into your meditation. By the way, if you've enjoyed what you've seen today, please subscribe and like. It's free and it means a lot to me. And with that being said, I'm going to help you meditate. We have a sound meditation with this as well. So that'll bring you some healing. And we're going to integrate. We're going to meet that inner child. We'll figure out what you want. We're going to be like Jupiter, light up and push some of that garbage around us out. And I feel energy right around my third chakra, which is my belly button. And there's power dynamics. That's the control energy that's coming up. So how can we cut the cords there and just kind of take that power and push it outward, okay? So please close your eyes now, relax your neck, shoulder, and back. And I want you to imagine yourself maybe at your childhood home. I know that as an adult, sometimes I have dreams there still, even though I've lived many, many places since then. See yourself at a childhood home. Go outside of the house, maybe if you lived in a place where there was a tree or a park or something, and meet your younger self. We're going to breathe first, and then I want you to wait for that little child to come to you, and we're going to have a talk with them. So close your eyes, paint the picture of what this place was like, this playground or this sacred space that you would go as a kid. And if you didn't have that, your old room is fine. Somewhere private, somewhere where it's just the two of you. And remember in your mind, what was it like to be there? What did it smell like? What did it look like? And ground yourself in that sort of remembrance. We'll take a couple deep breaths. And I just want you to feel the sense of nostalgia going back in time, remembering a good day in your life as a kid, and you're going to relive a little moment of that. So a nice deep breath, inhale. Let go of any sort of tension that you're holding on to. Allow all of the adult thoughts that kind of crowd your mind to go away. Worries about your bills, about your schedule, about the Zoom appointment that you have in a couple hours, all that stuff, let it go. Just be present and hear the sounds of your childhood. Again, if you're at the playground, maybe it's kids laughing in the background. If you're in your house, maybe it's the sound of someone talking in another room, or the sound of the air conditioner humming behind you. Whatever the sounds of your youth were, whatever the space brings to you. And then see in the distance a figure walking towards you. You can't quite see it because there's a light behind them, whether it's the sun or another light. You just see this little body, this little shape coming towards you. And then all of a sudden it runs up to you and it gives you a hug, and you remember it's you, it's your inner child, it's back when you were a kid. And there are no filters of adulthood with this kid. There's nothing but love and happiness. It recognizes family, someone that it loves, someone that it knows. Think for a moment what it was you loved most about yourself as a child. For me, I laughed a lot, and I got in trouble because I laughed a lot. What was it for you? Did you like to draw? Were you a good listener? Were you always really curious? I want you to take something from that inner child and tell it something kind, tell it something nice, and give it a hug too. For many of you, this is going to be a healing moment because maybe your parent, your guardian, your friends or teachers didn't love you. So I want you to look at that little kid and give it some love for something that as an adult you realize you carried from youth. Something that maybe people teased you about, but it ended up being the most important thing that you could have embodied as an adult. Tell that little kid it's going to be okay, that they are exactly who they need to be, that they should laugh and draw and do all those crazy things that they did, because there's only a short time in our life that we get to be so free. And realize that as limited as that child thought it was actually quite free. Both of you have freedom in your life. You have freedom to decide. Those decisions can sometimes weigh down on you. But as a kid, you just yearn for that. So if somehow in between you can meet yourself and start to integrate, feel that inner child starting to melt in your arms, become part of you, melt into your heart and into your belly. And you've now integrated with that child. You're loving it, you are it. And now as an adult, you can take lessons from that child and also, give some love back to it. Become the you that you were meant to be, not the you that your parents wanted you to be, your teachers molded you to be, or society demanded that you should be. Stand up tall now and feel your strength and radiance as this new combined being containing the elements of youth and the wisdom of age. And look up to the stars above you. See above you a beautiful light shining. This is your cosmic higher self. Open your arms and allow yourself to be lifted up through that light, almost like a tractor beam. You can travel through the light. And now you're not only this inner child and this adult, but you're also in your soul, your deepest sort of energy that has lived hundreds, maybe even thousands of lives. And within each level, within each layer, you have this eternal wisdom of survival, of perseverance, of hope. I want you to find your way through this beautiful light-filled energetic space. For some of you, it may look like a room that has hundreds and hundreds of open doors. For some of you, it could be an orb of light where you could just look out endlessly in every direction and see more and more light. And for some of you, it may take on another form. I don't want to take that away from your imagination. What does your soul look like? What is this palace that is the space that you go back to after each life? What does it look like? Find the brightest spot in it, and I want you to reach towards it, and I want you to pull that into your heart. And in this moment, I want you to see yourself start to grow in radiance, in power, and in light until, like Jupiter, you have all the elements necessary, but you're going to go a step further and push out and become a star. So take a nice deep breath, inhale. And now push your light, your energy, and your frequency out so far that it fills this palace of your soul and then beyond. Imagining that you are the brightest star in the sky and all the heavens above, and that you have enough radiance now to heal the planet, to heal yourself, and to light the way for this life. Where do you want to go next? Before you do that, see all the orbits of energy around you and pull in the people, the opportunities, and the things that matter the most. And then look at that one goal that you have, that one path. We're going to take a moment here as we listen to the singing bowl, and we're going to light that path so that when you come out of this meditation, you're going to know where to go and what to do. Take a deep breath. Inhale and see yourself now traveling down that path of light, finding yourself at the destination, realizing that the journey will not take you as long as you thought. How good it feels to be in this new version of yourself, strengthened by the joy, the optimism, and the hope of youth, empowered by the wisdom, the knowledge of age. Now knowing that anything is possible. When you're ready, open your eyes. And welcome back, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed today's reading. I think one of the key messages here again was to imagine possibilities, thinking, what if I could do this? What if this does happen? To really live in the energy of hope throughout this month, hopeful of seeing the best coming out of all of this. We have to do that. It's not very productive to focus on the negative. And then to take some action, make a difference, do something about how you're feeling. It's good to feel, even if we don't always like what we're feeling. So the feeling is basically that primal instinct that's going to help us move past, move beyond. So these primal instincts are coming through to help you. I'd like to thank everybody who was kind enough today to also show up and give a sticker. I appreciate you. I failed to mention this earlier, but for any of you that did do a super chat or super sticker, I will put a little bit of gratitude when the video is on replay. So thanks in advance for doing that. I'd love for you to stay connected to me. If you're not already a subscriber here, why the heck not? Hit subscribe. It costs nothing. I have the same username on YouTube, on Facebook, and Patreon. It's just Nicholas Ashbaugh. Again, it costs nothing to subscribe. It just lets you know when I'm live. The little bell icon is great because as I go live, it'll also put a notification on your phone or send you an email, so super helpful. If you want to join me on Facebook, please do. I use stories to remind you. And Patreon is a great way to give back in a sort of regular basis, like $1 a month. You can do that here through YouTube as well. I think it's $4.99 instead. So for those of you that are sustaining members, much love and gratitude. You're how I continue to buy new cards. I couldn't do it without you. For everybody else, subscribing and liking makes a difference. It helps YouTube notice me and it serves me up to more people. So that helps as well. I'm also on Twitter. My handle there is @Ashbaugh, and I'll tweet out on the days of readings and also a few days in advance. Thank you again for everybody that's doing some stickers right now. I'm also on Instagram, and my username there is my name just separated with an underscore. So Nicholas_Ashbaugh. And I will post a little slice of life posts there too. It's not always about intuition. It could just be my dog or my day or whatever. Great way to kind of connect with me in an informal way. All information that you could possibly want is contained on my website. How to contact me, how to book an appointment, and also all my social media links that I just gave you, including for those of you that prefer PayPal. I have a way to connect with me on PayPal there. It's paypal.me, Nicholas Ashbaugh. But again, if you just go to my website, all that information is there. Thank you again. Special thanks to both Maria and Ryan for keeping a beautiful space while I'm doing this, allowing me to be present. Thank you for everybody that joined from across the planet today. So great to have you. Thanks for all of you again that are members as well, and members here and on Patreon. You make a difference. Take care of yourselves, stay optimistic, and listen to your intuition, everybody. It's coming through right here and right now, and the guidance will help you make the decisions you need to make. I appreciate you. Take care, and I'll see you again next month, okay? Bye, guys.